For another episode of I Am Negan, a TWD Universe podcast. I am the senior editor over at the Koalition, Adam Vale, and I'm joined by Richard Bailey Jr.
What's up, listeners and viewers?
And Throwdown shows over on Twitch, Carlos Romero.
Yo, what's going on?
What's going on is that we made it. We made it. This is our discussion and review of The Walking Dead, Daryl Dixon, Season 1, Episode 6, and the only one titled in English, Coming Home. And this is it, people. This is it. And the only reason why I keep saying this is because there's a lot of people that are like, well, how many episodes is it? Well, there's only 6. There was only 6. So if you have not watched this one, and I'm like, I'll just wait till they're all out and released. Well, this is that. This is that time. Because this is the last one for this season, and who knows when the next one's coming. But we'll talk about what's coming, because we do know some stuff about it. So that's exciting. But yeah, so if you haven't already watched it, go on AMC Plus. You can watch it there, or on AMC proper on cable when that airs. By the time we release this, it should be out. So if you haven't watched it, just know full spoilers. That's what we're going to do. And again, thanks for everybody who has been following us all these years. This is what we do. We cover all the shows of The Walking Dead over on YouTube and over on iTunes and Spotify. You prefer the audio version, you just want to run around and do that. And that's pretty much it. Just want to get that out the way. Let's just jump into some quick news. Melissa McBride confirmed over at Comic-Con. She will be back for season 2, right? As a full cast member, not just a guest star, which is fantastic news because we all know the drama that happened when they announced that they were going to be filming Daryl Dixon overseas. And she was like, nah, I'm not going. First she was going and she wasn't going to go. Understandable, family reasons, whatever. It's a long trip. A lot of time away from your family. But we still don't know the full extent of how that whole thing is going to pan out. Because again, spoiler, this is the warning. If you still haven't seen it, that's what we're going to get into. That ending connects to all of this. Because the ending we see, boom, Carol is back. But we see her, I don't want to say Georgia, because if we link back from the last episode, Daryl had mentioned when he was on the radio with her, I'm in Maine and I'm heading back. Then they cut out. She's in Maine. Yeah. She's in Maine. She's trying to track him down. It looks like she got a hold of one of the bikers that was just doing one of the freelance work, trying to get gas and stuff like that. And that's where I think she's going to be headed, because he was like, oh, I made the deal to get this bike, and you know, there's a camp, and that's when she's going to find out. But even if she does, that's a long trip to get from Maine to France. They don't really discuss that in the previous episode when we know he took the boat ride and then it jumped off and was adrift for who knows how long. But I don't know. It's going to be interesting to see how they put that all together. But I'm only jumping to the end only because that's the biggest news right now that's been spreading about the show. Confirmed. Carol is back. All right. We're finally going to get the Daryl and Carol. I don't think they're going to change the title for it. So I already saw some people discussing, the Daryl and Carol show. I always felt that was a placeholder. I don't think that's a silly name. But then again, just calling it Daryl Dixon is kind of silly. But we know why they did it, just so people know the main cast member. The show revolves around him, and he does have a following. There's some people that I've talked to about this show, casual watchers from the main Walking Dead proper. And I was like, yeah, we're covering the Daryl Dixon. And it's like, oh, Daryl. He's got his own thing, Darren. Yeah, I like that guy. I was like, well, there you go. You get plenty of him. He gets all the screen time in this. But yeah, so that's the big news. And there is a season 2. That was news that broke before this even aired this season. So no surprise there. So don't think, oh, well, that's if the show gets renewed. No, it's coming back. Come back. What we don't know is for how many episodes. Are they going to stick with this new format of 6-episode seasons? We don't know. Same thing goes for Dead City, which also got renewed. We don't know. 6 episodes. I hope not. I go with 10. What do you guys think? 10? Are you guys cool with just 6 episodes?
I think they'll do 6 again.
Think there's 6? You think that's the new norm?
I just don't think they're gonna green light these shows for anything above that. Unless it's like a massive success. I don't know how the reception has been for the Daryl Dixon show as compared to the other seasons of the spinoffs. But we'll see. I could be wrong, but my guess is we're going to stick with 6.
Well, we were in the minority for the last episode, right, Rich? I mean, we had our gripes, but you go to IMDb and other ones be like, oh, this was a fantastic episode. It's the second coming of Walking Dead TV shows. I'm like, whoa. There was a lot of holes in that story.
They probably liked the ending like we did. Like we really liked
yeah.
So maybe that, some people just leave with like the last impression, and the last impression is really good.
Oh, they treat it like a fight. It could be a snoozer for 5-6 rounds, and then when there's a big knockout, it becomes your favorite fight. It's like, did you see how he got knocked out? I was like, yeah, but that was like around 8 or 9. There was a lot of dance. Yeah. But did you see the knockout? And I think that's what it was. So maybe, but we agreed. We liked that final part, but everything else getting to there was kind of like, with the fluff with Quinn and all that. But all right, that was the big news. We got that out. Let's jump into this episode. So we continue off from the previous scene where we see Daryl with a battle axe, which is pretty nice that they even gave him a battle axe. I mean, if you really have no intention of this guy surviving, give him nothing, or maybe give him like a bat or something really flimsy that's not going to do damage. Once you throw a battle axe against a fleshy walker who I'm assuming is semi-fresh, because they were always emphasizing we need fresh walkers for whatever experiments, right? So still, a body can't withstand so many battle axes, no matter how much steroids or whatever they're juicing these things up with. But anyway, it starts off, remember, the thing goes running right at him, and sure enough, it does, and he takes a few whacks from the battle axe, but he gets up and he keeps going, and they get into this whole altercation, and we see that he's filled with that acid now. So my question to you guys is this acid, I'm trying to figure exactly how it works. I don't think it really matters for the story, but clearly it gives them super speed, super strength, because he took a bunch of those whacks from the axe and just got right up. The limbs weren't falling off. That was another surprise. I was expecting, especially with the axe, but maybe it's the way he was hit and they weren't going with it. But now that that's in the system, it just seeps throughout the whole body and it makes them acid, right? That's it. They're just spewing acid out because they got on Daryl's hand when he had it pinned against the wall and stuff. So what did you think, before we go any further, what did you think of this new variant that we're seeing, this runner acid and filled walker? Because this is not the same one that we saw earlier with the acid, because that one just had the acid, didn't have the running part. So clearly there's different types of chemicals that they can shoot out through these arrows, and that's how they triggered this. So Carlos, what did you think of this variant?
Yeah, it was a good fight. I'm surprised, Rich. We talked about this last week. We thought it was going to last 10 seconds. We glad the fight took, and not only it was a double header. So the first fight, yeah, I agree with what you said, Adam, with the walker. It was it felt like it was more intact than previous ones, because the other ones are just, maybe it's because it was just fresh, or maybe it's the steroids, who knows. But yeah, it was a really well done scene. I liked it.
Mm-hmm. Rich?
Yeah, I thought both of those action sequences were great. I'm not really expecting them to dive too much into the story about the walkers and getting these injections until maybe season 2, because this is obviously starting out as an experiment. I think it is going to evolve, and eventually it will get out into the world. And I'm guessing that's what's going to happen in season 2.
Yeah, because I mean, there's still a lot of questions here. Because the next part of this whole thing is that after he takes that one out, everyone's booing within this Thunderdome type setting. They're all upset that he won. And it's not over yet. Another door opens and we see Quinn come out, and then he has a chain, and it's like, all right, you guys got to get your tethered together now. And Quinn was like, well, I guess, we're going to have to do this. And Daryl doesn't even blink. He picked up he's like, I'm going to kill you. I'm getting out. Because that's what we assumed, right? It was going to be a fight to the death type of thing. But no, it really turns into almost like a Running Man situation where we have multiple doors opening up and there's a walker just standing there. Like, we're getting ready. And then each one gets shot in the head with an arrow that's going to give them this steroid boost. But the interesting part with this is that I'm assuming that they were all getting the same boost that the original one did, right? Because he starts twitching the head and all the stuff and get the bills. But I guess some bodies can't handle it and their heads explode. Because we saw that one happen, and even the woman in charge, she looks at the guy, and was like, "Well, what's going on here?" I'm sorry, this happens. It's not perfected. We still don't know why these type of experiments. Because at first, when we first rewind all the way to the beginning of this, and with the ship, I thought that they were trying to figure out a cure of some sort, right? And they need bodies, trying to see if they can do, I don't know. It was still weird that they had to import walkers. But that's what now it really doesn't look that way from what we've seen from other scenes where they were injecting them in the rooms and stuff. You see them going crazy. They're purposely trying to make, I guess, like an army of walkers, right? That's the best way I could describe it, by putting this injection and use them to help do what? To fight who? Because we don't see any other forces around. It's not like the French government, Foreign Legion, whatever. We don't see that. There's none of that happening. We know the big bad, that's what we've been calling him, that's been hunting down Daryl because he thinks that he killed his brother, is out there. But we don't see any more of his crew, right? We don't see any of that. He partnered up with this woman here because she has the muscle. She had all that know-how. But we don't really see the purpose of this unless it's to try to create a big army to then take over other areas, other nations, if that's the goal. The point is, I don't know the end goal. Why do this? What are you're trying to get out of this? I mean, before I go any further, what did you guys, do you figure it out? Do you know what's going on with why she wants to do this?
It's to put on the show.
On the show. Just for show? For what?
Yeah, I mean, the whole thing is a show. It's number one, she's using Laurent for the whole show because a lot of people think he's a prophet or a messiah, and she's touting him out like, oh, like you're my puppet now. That was that whole thing.
Yeah.
With this fight, it's like, oh, this guy Daryl, this American, he's a bad guy. We're taking care of him, so we're making a show out of it, so you can see how discipline is. That's that's why the Romans did it. That's why
Oh no! I get all that. It's just why with the experiments of making this super drug is what I'm getting. What are you going to do with it? Yes, you could juice them all up. Is it all for the show, or is there another purpose? Like I mentioned,
you can
like a
soldiers.
Zombie army.
Yes, a zombie army where you can have the best ones and easily take care of people. Because I mean, it's still in the experimental phase. As you can see, all the other ones, it looks like they don't know exactly how to control all of them.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think that's just what it is, and that's why they're getting American walkers to test them and do all these stuff. Maybe it's to get more inventory. Who knows? I'm not sure about that piece yet. But yeah, that's pretty much it for that. As long as it made the scene better, so can't complain too much about that.
Oh no complaints there. It's just I'm just trying to figure out the motive. Like what's the point of this? And then I was hoping she was going to explain it later on, like to Isabel or something. And maybe Isabel would even ask, why are you creating these drugs for these walkers? And then she come out and say, oh, it's to take over the world with them. We're going to, or I don't know. It's weird.
That's a good point. And then, and a lot of the stuff with her, we just don't know anything about it. We only know one thing. She worked in a museum, and we'll talk about that later.
Yeah. That was a weird one. That was a weird. She gets a lot of weird scenes. Remember the other one with the holding the baby, the crying baby and stuff? Yeah. I mean, they put her in all these, but she doesn't have that creepy vibe. Her face just doesn't do it for me. It's fine. I'm not saying she's ugly. None of that. I think she still looks too nice. I think they should have found someone more haggard, like a real creepy looking lady. Like, oh, she's got something up her sleeve. But anyway, Quinn and Daryl, they do a great job fighting all these walkers off, using the chain in very creative ways. Eventually, Daryl pops that head off, picks up the head. You see, obviously, we all know how this works. You're supposed to stab the head, or else it's still alive. And sure enough, it's still growling and all that stuff. Now everybody's chanting Dixon. they're all in support because they are entertained. And then he takes it and just throws it up to the railing to the higher ups that are just standing up there. And before they could even really react, there's gunfire, there's shooting happen. The rebellion has begun, and we got that whole crew. I blanked on the dude's name, the French guy who was in charge of that community with the gray beard. What was it? Flute? I think it was something like that. He shows up with the other sister's boyfriend and some others, and they're causing havoc. So now everybody's running around, and Daryl and Quinn take off, still tethered together. But the big part of this is the sad part, because we know somebody had to go, right? And it's Quinn. I didn't buy it at all when he was like, "Oh, that was just the acid." It don't look like the acid. We know what the acid burn looks like because Daryl, his first encounter, got that acid burn, and that does not infect you. Acid burns do not infect you, but bites do, and there was clearly a bite. And so he tells Daryl, like, "Oh well, they have like a little heart to heart at some point," which is kind of interesting. And then I still don't feel anything for it, because I don't know if the purpose of them having this heart to heart was for the viewers to see Quinn differently, to be like, "Oh well, we get why he did this, and he's really a good guy at heart, or he's just trying to be a good guy." No, because they still didn't answer the story of, if you were really that in love with Isabel, why were you having relations with the sister and you conceived this child? Why? What was going on? He doesn't bring that up. He just says, "I'll tell her, that I did all this for her," and blah, 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 blah. Don't care. It didn't work for me, and I'm sure a lot of other viewers of the show are like, "Who cares?" Yeah, because Daryl's like, "Well, I gotta go. Your existence slowed me down, so we're gonna chop your hand. We're gonna get this chain off, and that's it." And he does it. He doesn't even hesitate. Gets that done. And he says, "Hey, do something useful. Give me some time," and he does. So before I go any further on that, did you feel anything? I didn't. I don't care. I feel like the Quinn character wasn't completely fleshed out, as I just pointed out. We don't know the reason why he did what he did with her sister. We never thought that it was going to work out. It just didn't do anything for me. Rich?
Yeah, I agree 100%. I didn't care either. This is the problem with having a 6-episode season. We got introduced to this character in episode 2, and then the next time we see him again was a couple of episodes later. So we didn't really get a feel for more about the character. We just knew that he was Laurent's father, and that he still had something for Isabel. Now, I guess they want to remind us that he didn't give up, that the fact that he had Laurent when they came to him and they asked him about what his plan was to try to get the American. So I guess that's what we're supposed to feel some sympathy for. But still, I didn't know much about the character, so I didn't care too much about the character. And it is what it is. But yeah, I mean, I feel the same way as you. I don't know if Carlos, if this is one of his most favorite characters on the show. So we have to ask his opinion.
Well, I shed a tear when it happened.
Oh, all right. Let's pour some out for him. There we go. Paula Quinn, rest in peace. We miss you.
I'm with you guys. I feel like we didn't get enough time to get to know the character to sort of feel sympathetic to him and what he went through and stuff like that. So no, I didn't feel anything. I felt like we could have used maybe another episode with him, so we can maybe understand more of its motives. Because at the end of the day, we didn't really see this type of Quinn before. It was always the same type of Quinn, and suddenly he's about to die. Now he's changing. The only thing we knew is that he was in love with Isabel, and that's it.
And it's still, just explain why you had relations with the sister then. Then tell us that. If you loved her so much, that never gets answered or asked.
Yeah. So, no, didn't really feel much for Quinn. Rest in peace. Yeah.
Well, at least as we get later on.
At least he at least he went out helping out the people that we do care about.
Yeah, and speaking of that, right, the next big scene for this was we see that Isabel and Laurent are getting led to a cell. We get a lot of mumbo jumbo babble from the woman in charge of this whole thing. God's not coming for you, as Laurent's praying, all that, this whole thing. Because that was the other weird part of it. When that whole fight was happening, he was praying, Laurent was praying, and we were expecting like this is when something magical is going to happen, right? This is when something, because he kept saying, no, Daryl's going to be fine. He's going to make it. It's like, how do you know? Well, something, I don't know what we were expecting, but nothing happened. Nothing mythical happened. It just, whatever. It just happened. So they get put into a cell. They're trying to figure out how they're going to get out, but not really. Laurent's trying to figure it out, but Isabel already had a plan. She's looking away because, as we all know, she was a thief. That was her trade before the Fallen, and she had picked the keys off of one of the guards. So that's it. When she looks, it's clear. All right, come on, let's go. We're getting out of here. So that was not a surprise at all. It was kind of funny though that they had their own scene just to do this. I don't know. Just maybe she could have just, while everyone was paying attention to the battle, already have taken keys if they were chained. I don't think they were at that point. So maybe that's why. Oh, well, maybe it makes sense there. But all right. So what was another key moment? Because that's the thing. It's all about these key moments. The key moment after this that really got to me, and I was expecting something special to happen, was now that we see Daryl on solo running around, he encounters the rest of the rebel guys outside, but they were inside before. I didn't get that much, but the guy, he's like, all right, can any of you help me take this chain off? I got this chain. Yeah, we'll take this chain. He's like, all right, we'll get this car running. You know, the guy says, oh, my uncle owned a garage. I was like, yeah, that doesn't answer the question. Can you do this? You know, I'm great for your uncle. Is he here? Is your uncle gonna turn out like, it's me? But whatever, he's gonna fix up the car. But Daryl goes back in so he can go and try to find everybody else. And this is the key part for me, is that it looked like it was a flashback of his dream, right? Because the dream that Daryl had was that he was behind a gate, Laurent's on the other side, and there's walkers coming, and he's screaming to him, you know, and screaming to get the attention of the walkers to leave him alone. And then eventually Laurent says a prayer or something, and then walkers go away. So here it is. Now we're almost identical to that dream. There is a tunnel. There is a gate. On the other side, Isabel, Laurent. Daryl is there screaming. He was like, all right, there's walkers. He's trying to like stab some through the fencing. But then, sure enough, what happened? Quinn. Great timing for him to turn as a walker and to find the path. Maybe he heard the voices and he followed Isabel's voice. He shows up, he's fighting and get Isabel pinned against the wall, and obviously Daryl can't reach, so he starts screaming, Laurent, you have to kill. Here, he hands a battle axe, kill him. Again, I don't know about you guys, but I was waiting for something to happen, something spiritual, magical, whatever you want to call it, that he was going to do, right? Maybe just like in a dream, say a prayer, say stop or something, and maybe it just triggers and it walks away. It didn't happen, and it went on pretty long. This scene was pretty long. I don't know if they did the suspense this way because they wanted us to think that Isabel was going to get bit at this point, or if I don't know. That's the only thing I can really think. But no, he does it. He kills him, and he's like, all right, great. Now, before I go any further, did any of this link with you guys? Did you think that this was going to be just like the dream, magical, or something magical was going to happen? Carlos, any of this?
No, I feel like we've come to expect. I feel like we come to expect because we've been waiting for Laurent's magical powers to come out, whatever those powers are going to be. But no, I didn't really expect anything to happen.
There's no powers. I think it's safe that we could all agree.
I don't think there's no powers.
Yeah, powers.
There are no powers. I guess that he is just a symbol of hope, and that's what they're going to look to. But I did want to say, Adam, I did recognize the scene, and it did feel like it was from the dream sequence. Obviously, a lot different because Quinn and Isabel were involved, but it did feel like it was something, because that's happened many times where I would have a dream about something and then it actually happens like sometime later.
Deja vu.
So yeah, so that makes sense. But no, again, like you said earlier, I didn't feel anything when Quinn did get taken out. I didn't feel anything about that. But now we know for sure that if the writers have a plan for Laurent having some special powers, you will not know about that until maybe season 2, if he has some special powers. But I highly doubt he does.
I don't think there's anything special. Like you said, I think it's more of that he's just seen this as for hope, and maybe he's soothing. He's got the eyes or something. But I think that it's very minimal on that. I don't think it's anything supernatural. I don't think we're going to see any of that with him at all, because even once they do get out and they meet up with the rest of the soldiers and the rebels, and they're en route, they're leaving, and he's talking. Laurent is talking with Isabel, and he says, "I didn't feel anything for him." He's like, "He wasn't my dad. He was no, for whatever. The guy was trying to hurt you, and sometimes you have to do something bad to do something good." He gave that type of speech. So he's seeing the world for how it really is. Because remember early on with how they were sugarcoating everything for him. Oh yeah, your donkey's fine. He's free. Everything is gonna be great for the donkey, And then he sees he's dead, and he's like, "Why did you lie to me? Why?" I really don't know why they wanted to sugarcoat with this chosen one, when once they leave that monster, he's gonna see that the world went to poop. It's not as good as they've been saying everything is. So this was a great wake up call for that scene, because it tells us that he's now alert. He now sees how the world really is, and he's okay with it. So that wasn't even him anymore. He was a walker, because that's what we were saying. It was like for him hesitating, there was no reason, because you're not murdering him. He's already dead. This is a walker, and that could to say, "Oh well, he's killing his father." For how long? We could count probably on one hand for how many hours that actually mattered, because he clearly, when he knew about it, when they had that one-on-one sit down, and he says, "Yeah, I know you're my dad." He didn't care. He didn't hug him. "Father, thank you." No, he already is detached, and that attachment was never created. So who cares? The real connection is Isabel, and Isabel is safe. So they do a trade-off with the rebels. They're like, "All right, we're gonna do this. You stay here. You're in the car." They drive off. We got the other sister, the nun, who I can't even say she's a nun anymore, but says goodbye to her.
She's nun.
Yeah, nun. Right? She gives a nice good kiss to her boyfriend goodbye. We all assume this is when he dies, but who knows? He's coming back for season 2, maybe, because he did not die, and they're happy. Whatever, but they had to go separate ways. At first, he gave like this pause, and it made it look like he was gonna like, no, I'm gonna help you guys, but he doesn't. He walks off with Flu. I think that's his name. I don't want. Maybe I'm pronouncing it wrong, but that the dude that was in charge of that other compound and the rebellion group. They're the only 2 that are still alive. It looks, which is sad, because we already saw the bird guy die and all the other ones. But whatever, they head back to wherever they're going. He gets in the car. Daryl is with the nun, with Isabel, with Laurent. That's where they had the conversation. And they take off. Sure enough, something's wrong with the car, right? So he pulls over, and you call the car. It's like, "Oh, he doesn't do a good job pulling it over. He's right in the open. Anyone could see. At least hide behind a building or something, right?" But no, he's still there on the road. Again, he goes to start fixing it. He tells this very interesting story, which, if someone's not paying attention, there's a lot to dive into for this part, because we learned some serious backstory here. One, we learned that Daryl's great with engines because of his dad. Right? His dad forced him and his brother to fix engines, and if they didn't fix engines correctly, then they didn't get dinner. Okay, but he was never really around, because he's sort of like a deadbeat in a weird way like that. But he says, like, what was it, the quote? He was like, "I guess you're like your father," or something to that effect. But it's all because we find out that his father, so Daryl's grandfather, fought in World War II. but never made it back. He died on the beach of Normandy. So
when we saw, and at the beginning of the episode, there was like a little scene where like, what the hell's going on?
yeah. They started hinting that something was coming up with this, and so that's more backstory we did not know. So he says it's ironic that here he is in France, this is where his grandfather, and it was a war and all this stuff. And now he's dealing with his own little war here. So he's talking and they're having a little heart to heart with Isabel. So he goes under the car to fix whatever is going on. And he notices that when he's asking for tools, she's not responding. So then he comes out and there's a big bad, and he picks up that heavy wrench and whacks him with it. I've accidentally been hit in the face with a wrench. It doesn't feel great. And to get a big wrench like that swung, he should have been knocked out. I'm just saying that was an interesting scene. I thought once he whacked him, all right, he's going to get knocked out, cut. We're going to come back. They're all tied up. That's what I'm assuming. But no, he took that whack like a champ, kept moving. Isabel gets stabbed. We assumed that was her stomach, right? Rich, did you think it was? I know Carlos and I thought it was her stomach.
Yeah, because of how they were holding her later in the episode, it looks as though that's what it was, but apparently it wasn't that. It was around her shoulder area.
That was, yeah.
And it went right through too, as we saw in the Stitch scene or whatever that scene was.
Yeah, I don't know about that, but it was weird, very weird. But yeah, she starts fighting with one of the soldiers, and then she gets stabbed. And she falls down, and she's with Laurent and the other nun, the sister. And at this point, Daryl, he's already got whacked in the head, and he tries to cover them up, and he puts his hands. He's like, "Don't do this. You could take me. You could take me." He pleads. He does the whole thing. Just let them go. And there's a lot of back and forth because the soldiers there are there for the boy, right? They want to bring the boy back, and the big bad is pointing his gun. This is, and we'll really have to dive into this one. So Laurent says, "You're a good person," right? To that effect, what is it? God loves you. That's what it was. He said, "God loves you." And he pauses for a second, the big bad, and decides to just shoot the other guards. He kills them all. Boom, 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 boom. He pops them all. And he says, "I'm going to get you, Daryl, but not today. This is not your day. You're about, a day away walk or something like that to the nest. And that's it." He said, "Burn the truck." Which is it.
So there's a lot of things to unpack on this scene. Number one, the whole thing with Laurent telling him, it's like, God loves you, and now he's just gonna let everything go. I don't know how you guys saw that. I just felt like it just doesn't make sense. Like we want it, like, and here's the thing: we obsess over talking about Laurent having powers, and it would be cool, like it would be a nice wrinkle if he had like something like, but his whatever the hell he does have is just something that doesn't really make sense.
The power of persuasion.
That's it. I know. That's it.
That's pretty much it.
And number two, the whole thing with this is a nitpick, by the way. The second one is a nitpick. The whole thing with the truck, it's like, oh, make sure to don't go on the truck because it's gonna leave a trace with the tracks, and so make sure to burn it. And I'm like, all right, I understand not using the truck, but why the hell do you have to burn it and show everyone where the hell you're at?
Yeah, it's gonna make a big flame. There's gonna be smoke, fire. Someone's looking around like, "Hey, what's that over there? Let's go investigate."
It's like, okay, leave the truck, go by foot, because the truck's only gonna leave tracks for everyone to see. I understand that. Don't burn it. You're gonna let everyone know. It's like that's the track in the sky.
So. I agree 100% with everything you said, Carlos. To me, and let me just say this. I think the show was good, but this was the issue for me in this particular episode with this character, because it just doesn't make sense how all of a sudden, I understand the way they explained it is fine. He didn't want to kill the kid. He didn't want to do nothing with the kid. And that's fine. I understand that. But Daryl is the one you have an issue with, right? You could have taken Daryl out right then and there, and then that would have been it. Then there wouldn't be a season 2 of Daryl Dixon, obviously. But I kind of feel like it just doesn't make sense for all of a sudden the character to have a change. And the way they could have easily corrected that, show that he has some type of dissension with the other woman, because they didn't hint at him having an issue with her the entire time. If he would have had an issue, maybe the way that she was telling him to do something and he didn't want to do it, then it would make sense why he would be defiant and do something like that. But because they didn't add that into the storyline, it didn't make any kind of sense to me. So that's something I didn't understand.
Real quick, there's a lot of ways that this would have been approached that would have been better. He would have, because it could have been the whole crux of the thing. He doesn't want to kill the kid. Okay, that makes sense. I understand. Maybe he's religious as well. You know, he had a relationship with
he picked up the cross. I think it has to do with religion. He picked up the cross.
He's religious. Yeah. He doesn't want, he doesn't want to kill. Maybe he thinks he's a messiah. Who knows? But what would have been cool would have been a good way to take this. It's like, okay, I'm killing the other dudes because they're about to shoot the kid, so I'm gonna save the kid. And what I'm gonna do is I'm like, all right, here's what we're gonna do. You, Daryl, you killed my brother. I freaking hate you. I don't hate the kid. The kid and the nuns get to leave, but you and me have to fight to the death, or something. Do something like that. That would have been a much way to handle this, because just letting him go and be like, oh, be on your merry way. It's like the whole inspiration for him to even be there. Like, it doesn't just make sense for him to leave him be. And then we'll talk about this later, but the whole aftermath with the lady, with the boss lady, does not make any sense. And we'll talk about
yeah. So this is the only thing that I was thinking during this scene, is that he didn't want to. First, he picked up the cross, that whole thing. So he's religious of some. Maybe that's the whole thing. I don't know if he buys into all the stuff going on with Laurent. This is the big bad, but he definitely sees, well, if there's so much going on that people believe that this kid is special, there's got to be something to it. So he's like, you're headed to the nest. All right, then go. But when he said, Daryl, this isn't your time yet, he could have, like you said, he could have just said, hey, you guys go down the road, whatever, get to where you have to go. We're going to settle this. Maybe the only reason why he didn't do that is because there's a good chance that Isabel and the nun and Laurent could get attacked by another group or walkers, and he knows that Daryl is going to protect them to get them to that location. So it's like, I'm not going to be there to do this, but Daryl, clearly he is looking out for their best interest. It's not about him. He's not being selfish.
No, but it's, even in the prison place, I mean, he went after Daryl to kill him, and it's not like he thought that, like, Laurent and Isabel they're prisoners. I'm pretty sure they were like about to be sentenced to death at that point. I don't know.
No, I that's what I'm saying. That's what, maybe with the whole power of persuasion, when he said God loves you, it's like, think about it. This kid is about to die. From all he knows, he's like, he doesn't know he's gonna shoot Daryl and then everybody in the head and just put them all down. But he's saying, hey, God's gonna forgive you. If this is what you got to do, this is what you got to do.
Not to mention the whole thing, the elephant in the room that we talked about earlier. He wasn't the one that killed his brother.
No, and that's the other part that upset me. At no point did Daryl say, who's your brother? You know, like, what are you talking about? What your brother? What? You know, he doesn't even question it. Just question why? What brother? And it was like, there was no. Or even Isabel could say, and it was like, Daryl didn't do it. It was a woman with an old man, you know, and they were about to kill Daryl. That's how I found him. Mm-hmm. Do something. That's it. They both know that Daryl did not do this.
Well, yeah, because he already knows who they are. He killed the old man earlier this season, so he knows who this girl is, but he doesn't know that she's the one that killed his brother. So, yeah, it is what it is.
We haven't seen her. Yeah, we haven't seen her. We saw one little scene where she got with the other group, and that was it.
Yeah, and I don't think we will see her again. But yeah, it didn't make any kind of sense. I know they could have done it a different type of way. I just kind of feel like I'll be very curious to see what people have to say, whether or not they thought it made sense to them, because to me, I just don't like that for someone who has a grudge with Daryl to all of a sudden say, nope, the kid is right. God loves me, and I'm not going to worry about you for now. but I'm also assuming that I'm going to be in a position to come after you later, which
and we're gonna get into that now because yeah, so that way we can just wrap up this part of the story and then just focus the rest on the next. He doesn't just take off on his own. He goes back to the main office, to that main woman that's in charge of everything. Why? And he gives a whole lie about what happened to the other soldiers and this and this and that. What were you thinking? I don't understand that. There was no need at that point. He could have just taken off and gone back to wherever he was from. I don't get it, because then go ahead, Carlos. Where did she say she used to work? This how she knows that he was lying.
Yeah. Oh man, this was the worst part of the episode for me. She's like, "Oh yeah, I walked around museums at night, or took over museums by myself, and I saw a bunch of eyes staring at me, so I can tell when people lie." What? Why doesn't make any sense? Yeah, I don't understand why they went that way. They could have, like you mentioned, like you told me earlier, maybe she was a prosecutor, maybe she was a psychologist or a psychiatrist or whatever the hell, people that had to read people.
They could read faces. There's something. Yeah, no,
I was in a museum with a whole bunch of paintings that had eyes, and somehow I can tell when eyes are lying.
So let me just say this. So obviously her plan now is to torture him until she finds out where the nest is. Okay, that's fine. But I'm just going to say this. If obviously this is a TV show, if this was a movie, she would have killed this guy. The minute that you saw, you killed my men. And then this guy is still, obviously you're going to torture him. That's the punishment that's coming. But I will say this. Once she gets her answer about where the nest is, she should kill this guy. There's no way he should still be alive if that's the case. But I'm pretty sure that they're going to find a way to allow him to escape, because he still has to go after Daryl, right? He got to get his revenge on Daryl. So we have to see where they're going with that.
As long as Daryl's alone. If Daryl's with a kid, he's not going to do it. That's what we got from this. He's like, I'll kill you when no one's watching. It's the only other thing I could think of, if we're keeping a scorecard, it's 1 for 1. Because Daryl could have killed him when they were having that other fight when he was choking him out. Remember? That whole thing happened. Then he started getting shot. So he could have died there. That was the 1 for Daryl. And then right here, his 1 for the big bad. He could have took him out right there. But no, he didn't. He's like, this is not your day. Get them to where they have to go. And when he said that, that's when he picked up the chain and you see the cross, which tells me that he's religious. He sort of buys into all this stuff with this kid, and he definitely knows about the nun situation, that she is nun. So he's like, what? I don't know. Change of heart, because at first he didn't really care, but now, or the power of suggestion, like I said, the kid had to say God loves you, and that was enough to make him turn a new leaf. I don't know. But yeah, they're gonna beat this guy, interrogate him. That's gonna be his end game there. We'll figure it out. Do you think, before we move on forward, do you think that going into next season, he's going to turn into a good guy or be one of those great characters? Rich?
That's a good question. I don't think that he's ever going to see eye to eye with Daryl. So maybe he will stay somewhat gray, but only as far as the kid is concerned, he's going to be somewhat positive, I guess. It's hard for me to know. What I will say is that I do hope that next season they're going to spend more time fleshing out some of these other characters, because otherwise I don't think they're important to the show. The lady as well, they need to talk more about what her plans are and why it's so important that you got to get rid of somebody like this. So they need to do a better job explaining this stuff going into season 2.
Can I ask a question?
Yeah.
Is Isabel the bad person? Is she the villain of this whole series?
That's a good question. Well, now, why you ask that question?
Daryl confided on her a very personal story about his childhood, a traumatizing story. A story, Daryl doesn't really talk about his life to almost anyone. but she confided on her a story that's deeply emotional with him and still resides with him. He's like in his 40s now.
Mm-hmm.
And somehow she busts out that story to guilt him into staying.
Oh
Like,
yeah, you're gonna be like your dad.
You're gonna be like your dad and abandon baby Chalamet. I'm like, are you serious? Like he has a family. Like she doesn't know his life beyond, like on the other side of the pond. Like it would if maybe if she knew some stuff, it would have been much easier. But she doesn't know any. At least from the show, she doesn't know anything besides that backstory. And she doesn't know. Does he have kids over there? Does he have a surrogate family or
Well, he
anybody?
doesn't love anybody because that was one of to remember in the car ride when the other nun was all heartbroken and stuff. I was like, "Hey, did you ever love anybody?" He didn't even answer.
Well, he didn't answer. He didn't say no.
No, but that's a no. He doesn't care.
He
The
didn't
one
say-
person he cared
no,
about,
he
we
does.
know, is the girl with the dog. I already blinked on her name because he lived with her for a while and she died.
He cares about
He
but
cared about Carol and everything, but not in
But he
a
loves
relationship type. Yeah, he loves a lot of people. He loves Rick, but I think
he
she
loves
was.
Judy.
I think it was
Well,
Connie.
Connie.
Well,
he loves Connie.
Well, let me answer Carlos's question. I feel that we're going to get an answer to that question next season when you have the love triangle between him, between Isabel, Daryl, and Carol. Then you're going to find out, is she a villain and all this other stuff, because clearly it's coming. So stay tuned for that.
All right, since we're already.
I just felt like it was really messed up, like what she said. Like I don't know if you agree, Adam. I think Rich kind of leans towards my opinion. Like it was messed up.
But she's not the only one. So we'll just get to it. Back at the nest, they finally make it. Everyone's happy. They're giving them lays, which I found funny. They're all like, "Hey, you made it." They know who he is. They know who everybody is. They're all happy.
Hello.
But everybody plays the guilt trip. Even the other minister or guy that's in charge was doing the same thing. It was like, "Why are you leaving us? You're gonna leave his boy. You're gonna leave the boy. He needs you. Everybody needs you. Well, maybe you're here for a reason. You said yourself you were looking for something else." This is Isabel saying it, and then she even sort of like, I wasn't sure if she was trying to seduce him when she was in that area, like washing back. It's like, oh, he's like, "Oh, I'm gonna leave." No, come here. I need you to wash my back, and to clean the wound. And she pulls it up there too. So it's for the next 5 or so minutes, it's him meeting these characters, talking to these characters, and they're all trying to convince him to stay. Even when that other person who is from Hoboken, which I found funny. I was like, yeah, it's my dark secret. He's from Jersey, but he found his way out there. Everyone, they appreciate what he can do. We see that one scene where now he's showing them how to use guns, and Isabel's looking from the window, and he's looking at her, not making googly eyes because Daryl doesn't do that. He just gives that blank stare, like, "Yeah, you see me," whatever. Yeah, and we never get that reaction, and I think this is another reason why so many people love the Daryl character, because he's not your typical hero for a lot of shows and movies, where the guy always gets the girl, or he's after a girl, or he has, he gives those vibes off that he's interested. Daryl doesn't do that. He's very asexual for everything. He never hints at it. We hint. The viewers hint. Oh, it's got to be Connie. He's constantly looking for her. He said he's never going to give up. He just cares about her. When he finally found her, remember, in Mothership, he just gave her a big hug. He didn't kiss her or anything. "Yeah, I missed you too." That whatever. Same thing with Carol. So many moments that they could have gone that extra step, and they never went there. When they finally do go there with him, it's for the story. It was I'm blanking on her name, but I brought it up, where he found Dog in the cabin and all that stuff. And that played a big part of the final season. But that was it. So I feel like she was trying to offer herself, like, I want to do something with this, but not be so upfront about it. And he doesn't give off any vibes that he's even interested. He keeps saying, I got to go back. I have people that need me and depend on me. And then they should ask the question, then why'd you leave him? That's the one thing they didn't throw in his face. They threw everything else. It's just, it was like, you care so much about these people. Why'd you leave them? Is that what you do? You just leave people you care about like you're leaving us and Laurent? They could have gone there. But yeah, they play a lot of guilt. But eventually the guy in charge is like, don't worry about it. I set up a boat ride for you, which doesn't sound great at all, because he says, you're going to go down to the beach. And once you get to the beach, you're going to get onto this boat. It's going to take you to England. Then from there, you're going to take another boat to go to Newfoundland over in Canada. And then you figure out your way from there. That sounds like weeks, maybe months of traveling. That sounds horrible. Or you could just stay here, start a new life. You got people that love you, people that want you here. Now, before we figure out what we know his decision, Rich, what would you do? You're Daryl. This is the situation. We got this boy, you got this girl. Clearly, they both want to be part of your life. You're very far away from home. Do you pack everything up and do this crazy journey that you just heard? Or do you just stick around? It's okay. This is my new life.
Well, personally, if I was Daryl, I would just stay in Paris. You spent all your time on the regular Walking Dead show with these group of people. I kind of feel like at this point, I want to try something new. And that's the one thing that I think we can all agree if you're a Walking Dead fan. It doesn't feel like Daryl has ever pursued anything for himself throughout the entirety of the show. And that's why this is an interesting concept, because you're taking him somewhere where he normally has not been on his own, basically trying to find his way. And of course, meeting new characters and establishing a better life for himself individually, not having to worry about taking care of Judith and Rick Jr., just out on his own doing his thing. So I personally think he should stay in Paris and not bother coming back. But obviously, that's probably not going to happen. So we'll have to wait and see what happens.
There was no reason for him to go back. The whole reason why he left is because it's Ezekiel's in charge of the Commonwealth. Everything is good.
Yes.
He's like, they need me. Who said that? Who said they need you? Even when you got on the phone with Carol, she said, it cut off someone was back. She never said, we need you. Come back. Hurry home. Then it would make sense. Then it cuts out. Then it was like, oh, man, things are bad there. I have to go help. You don't. So, and like that guy had said, he's like, maybe this was where you're supposed to be. You had to leave to come here. These people need you. They actually need you. And you said you were looking to see what else was out there, and here you go. You found it, and now you're going to just leave? It doesn't make much sense. But anyway, he doesn't really want to say goodbye to anybody. That's a part of what you said, Carlos, the guilt trip again from Isabel. And he really didn't want to say anything to Laurent. He goes into the room, the Rubik's Cube, whole thing, but Laurent's sleeping, just leaves. And this was the surprising part. A lot of surprises with this one. We already discussed the Carol one, so that's not the surprise. The surprising part is that we then do another connection with Grandpa, because it turns out that the beachfront that he's going to is actually Normandy. And that's, as we know, that's where he said his father had died getting off the boat. A lot of soldiers died trying to storm the beach. It was horrible. And so he sees all the crosses as a little cemetery for these soldiers. And he decides to start looking through them. And sure enough, he finds William Dixon. That was his grandpa. So he sees him. He gives this moment. He looks at the beach. He looks at the cross. All right, before I go any further, this is what I was thinking here, is that this was like, my dad my grandfather came out here to help the people of France, right? That's why we went over there. Germans were taking over, a whole big thing. We had to fight and help. So we sent our soldiers to go fight. His grandfather was there to help fight. He died. Here it is. Daryl is now there with the same type of situation. He is there to help now. He wasn't trying to get there, but he's there now. But there are people there that need his help. So he can continue, if you want to say, the goal of his grandfather. So I was thinking at this point, he is going to then turn around and walk right back up the hill and head back. That's not what happened. So before we get into what actually did happen, Carlos, am I alone in feeling this? Did you think this is when he was going to do an about face? Right? Yeah. Right?
No, you're alone because I want to correct something and say Daryl's grandfather did succeed, even though he died. He did not die in vain because obviously he did succeed.
No. Yeah, but that's why he was there. It was to fight against an evil foe that was harming France, and here it is. They still have a foe.
Yeah, but because you said he didn't succeed.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, no. That meaning like that's not what I meant. Then I'm sorry. That's not what I meant. It said that he died in the process of doing so, and Daryl is still alive, and he can still be helpful. Is what I was trying to say.
Yeah. So we'll see. We'll see. This obviously they were getting that symbolism because I guess France needs help, and Daryl's apparently is the only person that can. I mean, even though they got the Messiah. Yeah, I don't know. I'm not too big of a fan of this whole "we need you." I mean, they went to the nest. There's a bunch of people. There's a dude from Jersey. Come on, man. What else do you need?
Yeah, I don't know.
Like Daryl took them from the south of France all the way to Paris, and he did his thing, man. And like you guys talked about it earlier with what you would have done. I don't know what Daryl is thinking exactly, but if he still has strong connections with the people from the Commonwealth, then I don't see any issues with him wanting to go back because that was his whole motivation to begin with. He did his part. He saved Laurent's ass so many times. I already lost count. Isabel is with him. Both of the nuns are with him, and they reached their destination. So now
mission complete in a way. Yeah, it's mission complete. If you see it that way, then that's it.
Mission complete. And even she said she lied to him about some of the stuff. So it's like it's Daryl's not the Messiah. You've been preaching this kid for God knows how long, and he hasn't done shit. And now you're going all the way to say that I'm the one that you actually need. So
yeah, they put a lot on him. There is definitely a lot on just Daryl itself. Like you mentioned, there's tons of people there. So I guess no one knows how to use weapons. No one knows the landscape, how to fight, or anything. It's weird. It's definitely weird. But right toward the end of this, he sees the boat. He has to get down to the beach, and he has his own battle. He starts fighting a bunch of walkers. They're all on the beach. He's using his mace. He's whacking them in the head. He's stabbing them. He's having a good old time. He's never super stressed. We're never worried for Daryl. If there's one thing about this show, and even Walking Dead proper, I think we could all say that we've never been worried that Daryl is going to die or get hurt or something. It was same like with Rick until Rick disappeared, right? That was the one consistent part of the show. That's like, yeah, things will happen for everybody else, but it's not going to happen to the Rick, the main character. Same thing with Daryl. So anyway, he gets to the beach. You see the boat, and then all of a sudden, someone's calling Daryl's name. For a second there, I thought it was Carol. I was like, before we got to that scene. But no, it was Laurent. He's up on the cliffside waving, hey. And Daryl looks up at him, and then that's it. Fade to black. It's done. Of course, then we already discussed the whole thing with Carol, and then now we know that she's looking for him back in Maine. So I don't think she's just going to pop up. Well, then who knows? We don't know if they're going to do a time jump for the next season. If they do a time jump, then it makes perfect sense. If they say like 6 months later, and then all of a sudden you hear on the walkie, and it's Carol, and she's somewhere in France looking for him, and then they meet up.
I would like to give a prediction because this is The Walking Dead, and because this might be a 6-episode season, they may not reunite until episode 3 of season 2. So it might not happen right away. Obviously, she needs to get to him, vice versa, but we'll see what happens.
Definitely will, because she's confirmed. She's definitely there. She's back. She's going to be a full-time cast member. So
not only is she back, the short hair is back.
The short hair is back. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's it. She cut all that hair off. So it made sense for a few things with that, but then they sort of put her in the same boat because the whole thing with Ezekiel, and she was working with him. And we always thought they were going to get back together, and it didn't happen. And it's like, I don't know. But I think there will be a tie-in with the Rick and Michonne. Because when she said he's back or she's back, but someone is back, it's only a handful of people it could be that's wouldn't matter in the Walking Dead universe. So it would definitely be Rick, Michonne, Maggie, or Negan. That's it. We know that the other two, Rick and Maggie and Negan, have their own show. They're doing all the stuff in New York, so I would scratch them off. But it would make sense with the Rick and Michonne. This again, she doesn't have to. They don't have to have scenes on camera or anything. It's just say, yeah, they're here, but they're getting ready to go do something else or something's happening. But just name drop them, and then that can spew off into their show because we did see a teaser for that, right? That was also at Comic-Con for the new Rick and Michonne, and I think that's what, February 2024. That's what they put down. So I'm looking forward to that. See where they go with that whole thing. But I don't know if it's going to be as good as this. As much as we gripe about some of the storyline issues, the location is fantastic. The new characters, the scenery and how they're putting everything together, it's great. It's great. I'm enjoying it. They're brutal with a lot of scenes. We're seeing a lot of craziness that we normally wouldn't see. I'm excited to see where they're going to go with all the variants. We'll probably see more action when it comes to these variants. I don't meaning like, oh, instead of just one or two getting the steroid boost, I want to see a mob of them. I want to see a mob of them 28 days later style, just running down the street. Maybe that's how they storm the nest, right? You get a big truck, and then all of these things, walkers come out. It's like, oh, it's just a walkers. And then they all start running toward the nest. That would be nuts. So we will see. But overall, now we could just finalize this. It was good. I think this is one of the better spinoffs. First season of Fear the Walking Dead was fantastic. And it started dwindling as it gets longer in the tooth, like almost every show. So hopefully this continues on to season 2. Already for a lot of people that are big fans of Carol, they're going to tune in, even if they weren't for Daryl, which I don't know those people because everybody likes Daryl. But if there was just some people that were like, oh, Carol is who I relate to and who I care about. Well, surprise, she's back. So let's see if they tune in.
So I have a question. This is probably my final question of the day. So we got the radio call between Daryl and Carol in the previous episode. And she mentioned that someone arrived to the Commonwealth.
She said someone's back.
Yeah, someone. Well, so yeah, I don't remember. Was it someone's back or someone's here or something like that?
Or maybe someone's here. Yeah, it can't be. If that's the case, if I'm right, if I'm thinking back is the wording, then Rick has never been there. No, he's never been there. In the comic, he was there.
Oh, Rick. Yeah. You're right. Well, maybe they're not. Maybe she's in Alexandria. Is she in Alexandria or the Commonwealth?
He kept saying Commonwealth when he referred to when he talked about his people. They're back at the Commonwealth. He never mentioned Alexandria.
Okay. So I thought it might be Rick, but who knows? I just wanted to ask if anyone has any more predictions for that. I don't know if we got enough to base something off of, or we're just gonna have to wait.
Well, go ahead, people. Leave it in the chat over on YouTube in the comments. Just leave it there. And who do you think is coming back?
I think it's Rick.
You think it's Rick?
Oh yeah.
It could be. It could be Rick. Rich?
Yeah, it's probably Rick. I mean, I have no idea because they didn't give us that much to work from. So we'll have to wait and see.
Yeah. Wait and see. But either way, I think this was good. This was a better one of the recent spinoffs. World Beyond wasn't good. Tales of the Walking Dead. I have a feeling we're going to get more of that for some reason. I don't know why. I really don't know why. Maybe because it was cheaper to produce than anything else. And it's a cool way of just having guest stars or fans of the show, other in the acting community, be a part of it in a way. Because that's what we saw a lot of the Olivia Munn and those type that were popping up Didn't guarantee they were going to be part of any of the new series or shows, but hey, they got some moments in there, and who knows? Maybe people want to see more. I had brought it up when we covered that show that this was every episode was different, and that they were just throwing spaghetti at the wall to see what sticks, and maybe one of them would really stick just due to social media and fans' reactions, and that's one that they would turn into a show. Who knows? The Terry Crews, a lot of people talked about that one, and that was also Olivia Munn. But I think they were talking about it not so much it was good, but they like Terry Crews. He's a great actor. I enjoy his work. So I think a lot of people were talking in that regard, but not so much of like, oh, he needs to get his own show. Throw him in one of the proper shows at least. I don't know. Who knows? It's still early. We could probably see him in something else. So that would be it. And I think we're back for Fear in a week or two. I'm pretty sure they said it was like sometime during the end of this month that it returned.
Next week.
There you go. Next week. So we will be back for the final season and the final part of the final season of Fear the Walking Dead. It's a shame, but yes, let's put this dog down. It was so good in the earlier seasons. So good. It filled so many questions. It's as if they were looking through the Reddit and people saying what they would do if there was a zombie outbreak, and they're like, yeah, we could do that. We'll put them on a boat. We'll put them on an island. We'll put them in a hotel. They were moving them all over the place into spots that people were like, yeah, that's where I would hold up. And then it would all go to poop. It was great. It was great. And now it got long in the tooth. Story doesn't make much sense. They were doing a lot of filler. Big battles weren't actually happening on screen. It was whatever. But we'll be back for that. We got to go with it. We got to finish the fight. So that's it. Thanks again, everybody who tuned in for us covering the Daryl Dixon over on YouTube, Spotify, iTunes. It's been great covering the show. I'm excited for where this franchise is going to go as a whole with the Michonne and Rick, and of course the season 2 whenever that airs, because the whole strike thing that happened. A lot of things are going to be delayed severely for Dead City. But it's going to keep going. The ball is still rolling. There is still plenty of Walking Dead content coming out, and that's fantastic because that's what we like. That's part of our life. So thanks again. Anything else you guys want to say and send off for?
We'll see you all in a week.
Yeah, see you all next week.
Yep, see you all next week. All right, everybody. Thanks again. Peace.
Peace.